got some new coaches this year, and one of the brother coaches was like, "Hey, tell me some places we can go, me and some of the other coaches, to get some good soul food, some good breakfast, right?" I didn't know what. So I called up Rochelle Riley, a friend of mine writes for the Free Press, and I said, "Rochelle, what can I take, the coach for breakfast?" So we went to this place downtown, but I'm gonna tell them about this place and the next place next door. Yeah. So, because you know how it is, people come from different places and in a new city and they don't know where to go and that sort of thing. I've had that too. So one of my first jobs, my first full-time job was in Dallas. I was working for the Dallas Times-Herald, and I covered high schools. I covered high school sports, right? And now it's kind of funny because I've actually run into one of the kids that I covered. He ended up making it to the NFL, and now he's a former. He played 10, 12. He played a long time in the NFL. Now he's out of football. He's doing business stuff. So he's doing something I was interested in. And so I saw him and stuff. And I was like, dang, I remember you when you were in high school. And now you grown man and, doing all this other stuff. But I say all that to say, when I first moved to Dallas, covering high schools was a great job because it forced me to learn the area. Forced me, because I had to drive to South Oak Cliff High School one day for an assignment, and I got to go way out to the suburbs to, Lake Highlands High School, and I got to go over to Berkner, and I got to go over to Waxahachie, and all these different places. And so, within a few months, I kind of knew my way around that whole city, and Dallas and Fort Worth and stuff like that.
So Jared, we would like to give her some opportunities locally to report sports. I don't know if she wants to do commentating or just writing. What would you suggest for her to handle it? Because she hasn't had that experience.
Yeah, well, you got to get to know people. You got to just knock on doors. You got to knock on doors. But see, the thing is, so you got to get opportunities to do your work and show your work. So, the school website, that's a no-brainer. You got to do that.
I know she could do it for our magazine, and we would put it on the website, and it would also be in the print copy.
Yeah, you do all that too.
But as far as giving her the assignment, when she goes out, since she hasn't done it, what tips would you offer her?
Well, I think it just depends on what you're covering. The main tip is to do it. You know what I mean? Seriously, you got to do it. Go write stories. Go write stories, whatever
so we
they
say,
are.
Okay, there's a game, Cass is playing King, and we want you to go and cover the game. You got any tips for her? We're sending her out on an assignment to cover a game.
Right. I think it depends on
a football game.
No, I understand what you're saying. It depends on what your magazine or your platform is. So it's a different thing. If you're writing for the Detroit Free Press for the people who want to see who won the game the next day, that's a totally different assignment than if you're writing for somebody who's going to pick it up a month from now. Okay, so if you're writing, a story for a magazine that somebody might not see, so that game only has certain shelf life. So if I'm a football fan and I want to know who won the game, then I'm going to get it from the Free Press the next day. Okay, so that's a different story. But if you're going to write about, here's what happens behind the scenes at a high school football game, that I could pick up a month from now and say, oh, that's interesting, that's a good story, that's a different story. If you're writing about an individual, so you always want to put a face on stories. That's really one of the main things you do. So sometimes if you have a theme that you want to, and be it, like I said, behind the scenes, or some individual who has a compelling story that needs to be told, then that's putting a face on that person or telling that person's story. So it can work two ways. So one, it could be a person that has a compelling story. Maybe they have been in 5 high schools in 2 years, and they've been moving around. You know, whatever that compelling story is, that might be the story. Or you might have a theme. You know, what's it like for, you know, a person to transition to a new school while playing sports or whatever, then maybe that's a story, and then you put a face on that theme. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but like I said, the main thing you have to do it. You have to, you know, go out, come up with story ideas, be creative, and say, well, why would somebody want to read this? Who would want to read it? What platform is it going to be on? You know, so how immediate is this story? Does this story need to be? What's the shelf life on this story? And you can tell a lot of stories in a lot of ways. There's some stories that have longer shelf life. You may spend more time working on them and getting different information that will not be the same thing you would get if you're writing, you know, a flash news story, a hot news story. So I think the idea, but I mean, you're just starting out, so I understand that. But even with that, you want to have an idea of what you want to write about when you go out. Okay, so in my case, you know, I haven't been doing it so long, but in my career, you know, I have an editor, so I'm always talking to the editor, you know, and that's even today now. Even though, you know, they let me do what I want to do, but it's like, you know, I like to bounce stuff off of them anyway, but just tell them, hey, I'm thinking about doing this story on such and such. How does that sound? You know, and I'm always one trying to get people, not necessarily to approve of what I think, but I want to get feedback. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about writing this story about such and such. What do you think? And I got one editor in particular that I'm closest to now, and he's really good. We've been working together for 10, 15 years, so we know each other. So I know it's, you know, he's got my best interests, and we're cool and all that stuff. He may say something, and say, man, that's pretty good. Yeah, okay. I didn't think about that. And other times I'll talk to him and say, no, man, I don't like that. That's not what I'm doing. No, forget it. No. So, but it's not personal. It's not ego, but it's kind of, you know, how it is. And I always have to feel like, you know, my name is on the story. So if somebody doesn't like something or there's a problem with it, they're not gonna call him. They're gonna call me. I'm gonna be, and even like if it's a source, and I write a story, either they like or they don't like, whatever, they're not gonna call the editor. Generally, they call it me. You know, that's the person that they talk to. That's the person that they dealt with, or might deal with, or might not deal with. You know?
So it's really important to, well, it's very helpful to have a good editor, or one that you can work with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I've had a lot of good editors, but you know, you develop relationships. But your editor is like your coach, really. You know, and so I'm out in the field. The editor's back at the paper. They're the ones going to meetings. You know, they have all the meetings with all the editors. Like, okay, what's in the paper today? Or what do we got working? What are your guys doing? So they're the ones advocating for you. You know, for the most part. But you got to work with them. They're the ones, the first person to read your story. Okay, and they may change something or switch something. And I was talking to my editor, called me yesterday. I got in the car to come here, and I was like, man, I had to rush to do that story. I did a story on Tom Brady. I don't know if you ever heard of Tom Brady. He's the quarterback of the Patriots. So I did a story on Tom the other day, and you know, Tom had a little press conference, and then he's going about his business. But I called him on. I was like, hey, TV, I need to talk to you. And sure enough, boom, we do this interview. I write the story, so on and so forth. So I got access with him that no other reporters got, just because of building a relationship with him over years. I remember when he was a rookie, right? So